Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Franklin, the founder and Chief Executive Officer of Warriors on Wheels of Metropolitan Detroit. Welcome to Disability Awareness Training. This opportunity is amazing and will help you assist a race attendee with a disability have the most enjoyable experience. We are excited to share with you some tips to best serve our guests with disabilities, so relax, listen, and imagine yourself going through the motions along with us as we display a few interactions here today. We lost a very important member, Lawrence Dilworth Jr., also known as Leapin' Larry, who served the Grand Prix in the early 80s until June 2023. He was an avid car enthusiast who attended every car show and had a hobby of collecting die-cast cars. We dedicate this training to him. Before we get started, it's important to know that a disability right is a civil right and is protected by federal law. The most comprehensive is the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA of 1990. Disability is defined as a person who has a physical, sensory, or intellectual disability that limits substantially one or more major life activities. There are visible and invisible disabilities. There are two types of assistive animals, leader dogs and service animals. Most common are service dogs or leader dogs. Someone with an assistive animal may be an individual who is blind, hard of hearing, or may have allergies. These animals are highly trained to perform certain tasks for their partners and are not to be distracted or petted. Most common are assistive dogs. All conversations about the assistive animals must be directed to the owner. A leader dog uses a harness to best guide the human partner. A service dog is attached to a leash and may alert a partner of danger, allergies, fires, or retrieve dropped items. These highly trained dogs are very docile. They are trained not to bark unless there is danger or emergency with their partners. They wear very distinctive overwear, such as vests, and by law, they are allowed in all public places. Emotional support animals, also known as ESAs, do not have the same rights as a trained service dog. When interacting with a guest who is blind or has low vision, make sure you announce yourself and describe your appearance. Try not to use gestures. Describe or vocalize what you're doing and where you are. It's especially important to do so because it brings the person who is blind into the space. When assisting a blind person or low vision individual, allow this person to take your arm or place their dominant hand on your shoulder. Make sure that you give verbal direction and describe the grandstand and the general area. Upon seating, place the person's hand on the seat. That helps them to realize where they are and it's time to sit. Make sure you alert them that you are leaving, because it's no fun talking to yourself. When encountering a guest who is deaf or hard of hearing, take note if they have an interpreter or an assistive device. Gain their attention and remember to always direct the conversation to the person who is deaf and not the interpreter. Stand directly in front in a face-to-face posture so that your lips may be read. Always gain their attention before you begin talking by tapping their arm or raising your finger. There is always a way to communicate, even if you have to write it down. Individuals who have physical disabilities, such as gait walk, or who may use a wheelchair, walker, cane, or other assistive devices, the best way to interact is to simply ask, "What can I do for you?" or "How can I assist you?" instead of "Can I help you?" A wheelchair is an extension of our bodies, so never lean on these devices. When holding a conversation, try to get eye level. The wheelchair user may not be able to turn their heads or look up to you, so make sure the experience is comfortable for the guest as possible. These are various mobility devices, and we're going to talk about how to secure them when transporting on the golf carts. The passenger's chair must be secured with all 4 securement straps. and they must wear their seatbelt. A break in the pavement can cause a passenger to fall off the cart. If the passenger is using a seated walker, for safety reasons, it would be best to transfer to the cart, fold the walker, and store it away. In this slide, we'll talk about words, because words matter. We'll show you some awesome words and also talk about outdated and offensive words. The first one is handicapped. Instead of handicap, we'll use disabled. Let me tell you a story about handicap. In the early 1800s, people with disabilities were shunned from the community and institutionalized. In a lot of cases, they were euthanized. Many who weren't, and may have been born with no limbs and unable to work for a living, were on the streets as beggars. So they would use the cap to passers-by to give them money, the term hand to cap. Handicap was born and today is an offensive, negative connotation that symbolizes inferiority. Let's take a look at ableism. We live in a world with lots of isms, and this is one that many may not even realize exists. Ableism refers to a bias, discrimination against people with disabilities, as if people with disabilities are less than. Most able-bodied people don't even realize they exhibit this posture. And here are some examples of ableism. Some of our regular day-to-day conversations could very well be categorized as ableistic, like, "You don't look disabled. What's wrong with you? You drive?" It has been our pleasure to present to you a few tips on best practices when engaging with our guests with disabilities. I'm Lisa Franklin, and thank you so much.